Hi everybody, it's great to be back with another 4Sight OT Cluster Coffee Station chat, and today we have two very exciting guests with us as well. So firstly, I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves. So I'm going to start with Johan Henning. So Johan, just tell us a little bit about your career, your company that you currently work for, your passions, and also related to digital transformation in the mining metals industry that you actually are very active in right now.
Hello everybody. So yeah, my name is Johan Henning. I'm a South African working in Kuwait. I'm working for a long steel producer called Kuwait Steel. We mainly produce rebar for the construction building industry, a privately owned company in Kuwait. In terms of my short version of my CV is I've been a CIO for multiple metals and mining companies, lots of them multinationals. I've also worked on the other side, so I worked for system integrators, two of them actually. And then in terms of my view and vision for digitalization and transformation is, I think, as a CIO or a solution architect, all the elements or layers, system layers in the landscape is moving towards this thinking, pushing the industry, pushing the technology towards that. And from my view, it's the important thing is the MES guys, for example, wants to start playing in the ERP space or in the process automation space, and the ERP guys wants to start playing in the MES space. So for me, the trick is to back certain of the horses in terms of these layers, whether it's level 1, 2, 3, or 4, and then make sure that you harmonize these solutions. So that, for me, is the biggest challenge in this whole change in the landscape, is to make sure that you back the right horses, and then make sure that you can basically communicate from the shop floor into the boardroom. That's really my view at the moment.
Yeah, it's very exciting, and yes, like we've now been working with you for about 2 years, and yeah, it's not easy to basically be in a foreign country and influencing a lot of people. But I really do believe ever since we started working, we've just been learning from you, and it must be that history and that experience working for these tier 1 metals company, and also for these global leading consultation companies. So if you look at your LinkedIn, you've got quite an amazing experience, and obviously that brought a lot of value to our project. So Henny, just quickly introduce yourself as well.
Yeah, thank you, Willem. Yeah, it's my name is Henny Jacobs. I've actually been Johan and myself actually come a long way. We actually grew up in the same areas, went to some of the same schools, but I started my career actually in the steel industry. I worked for a company that was actually well known as Metal, but I started my career there, and then I moved from the steel industry for a short while into the oil and gas, and then I also then moved from the oil and gas more into the mining and minerals environment. I've actually been part of that industry for the last 24, 25 years, implementing various projects. I was in a very fortunate position. I think what Johan is saying here is that we are doing the functionality and the solutions at different levels, and the idea is doing the right things at the right place and at the right solution, is adding the value and making sure that we do it correctly for that area. So I realized now that I actually have 21 years ago been part of a typical integration project where we started typically from the control systems right into the ERP, fully integrated into the lab systems and Wavery systems. And I think a lot of the solutions is adding value at the right place. So it's been very exciting for me, and being part of this journey was actually very exciting.
Great, thanks, Henny. Yeah, maybe myself. So I lead the 4Sight OT cluster and also the Blue USB division of the 4Sight OT cluster. I worked for multiple multinationals in the past. I've now been with Blue USB for about 3 years. In joining the company here as MD, I basically started working with Hendy, and truly I've also worked in MES for quite a while, but Hendy's certainly one of the leading practitioners and leaders of MES solutions that I've come across in my also now 25 years in mining and metal space. But let's go back to Johan. So Johan, what was some of the manufacturing and operational execution management challenges that you encountered when you arrived at Kuwait Steel? Like, you obviously brought this visionary optimization approach to the company there and start doing some transformation for the company to take them on their digital transformation journey. So just give us a bit of insight, like, flying in new place and now taking quite a senior role and transforming the company. How did you approach it?
Yeah, I think let me first start this. When you're the outsider, you don't want to be seen as the outsider. So I think for me, it was really important to spend time with people, listen to people, even though you might have had the answers or you needed to get some of them in the process. It was more important for me to become part of the team, understand the business before we took any of the decisions. So I was fortunate to be allowed to do that. We went through a whole program, workshops. Eventually we agreed now a 3-year business, what we call a business improvement plan. But it's a change program, not just from a technology point of view, but we physically changing the business. We've centralized functions based on what we want to achieve. So I think the first thing is I had to become part of the team. We had to make sure that we focus on the business value and not the features and technology. And then what I found here, I think from what we're talking today in terms of the OT stuff or operational technology side, is yes, again, it's a steel plant, normally comes with very well developed level 2 systems, or for those people that don't know, in the steel industry, for example, in steel making, you can buy a piece of technology with the plant that's got, for example, a metallurgical model that's got algorithms and calculations that physically help the operational people to run the plant. So those were here, but there was no consolidated view and harmonization of data across plants. So there was no MES layer or manufacturing execution layer here. So we've got quite a aggressive plan to address that. The other thing, just back to what we said about making sure that you plug technology in the places where it should be. The other area I believe we need to address here is the integration layer, not just from a technology point of view, but also from a data flow and process point of view. So it doesn't help you have all these solutions hanging around, but it's just like in the 80s and 90s, they become point solutions again. So we want to implement a very strong integration layer, both from a, let's say, architectural point of view, but also from a technology point of view. So those, in terms of what we're discussing today, those were the biggest ticket items that came up.
Thanks, Johan. Yep, yeah, like it was an integration, a lot of integration challenges, and also a lot of discussions in it. And like I think the most interesting and challenging sometimes also was that the project happened right in the middle of the COVID travel restriction period that forces the teams to work remotely on this specific MES implementation. So let me go back to Henny. So being an AspenTech MES specialist with your team, what was our 4Sight Blue USB solutions and methodologies that you helped deploy at this site to to address these challenges?
Yeah, but I think if you look at what we have been doing from a methodology point of view for all the industries that we've been involved in, there is not a one fit for all type of scenario. You have to understand what the business processes are. What is the value add? We're all having smelters, or in this case, we looked at the lime plant, but all of them has got the same technology, but how you operate and what is important for the different customers is a very valuable and a key point. So our methodology was to basically embark into workshops, understand the requirements. Johan also mentioned some workshops now, but you need to be trusted and understand what's the requirement. And then from that, we use the MES, AspenTech MES, which is a very configurable and almost like object-oriented real-time solution where you're getting all the value and being able to provide and configure the solution according to that requirements. We go through then various testings and go live and then support. But without a doubt, like you have mentioned, I think with COVID restrictions was a complete different scenario on how you want to do it. We still wanted to implement the same methodology because it has been proven and it was working. The only difference now is how do you do it without flying to the customer and sitting in front of the customer. Now, I think there's a few important aspects regarding this, but one of that is having custodians and the commitment from both parties, from the client side and from our side. And I think Kuwait here had a high commitment in arranging all these workshops, making sure all the right people were in the workshops. And being able to share information. Yes, I think there was a lot of challenges. We actually had, even after we have gone live, we had a lot of challenges on how you want to address certain things. But I think between the teams collectively, we then approached and we had regular meetings. And the only difference now is the meetings were virtual instead of sitting next to one another. Brings its challenges, but I think at the end of the day, if all the parties are engaged, I think you're still being able to do it. So like you said, we've implemented this whole project from start till the end without seeing any of the customer resources on site or, we just saw everybody on virtual. So I think it was quite successful.
That's great. Like COVID has taught us all to basically work very, very different and in new ways. And yeah, it's quite amazing. Like what you said there, you were able to initiate the project and also, remotely commission and hand it over without sending any engineers to site. So that's sometimes the way of the future. That means that we can get involved in projects all around the world and quite effective and efficient. But we would not be able to do it so well if Johan didn't help us. And so Johan, you helped us. You helped our teams and your teams tremendously with a very, very clear project management methodology, stakeholder engagements throughout. Henny spoke about that. Adoption and change management once we started going live. And so you were like orchestrating it quite a lot. Now, obviously, from your many years worth of experience as CIO of at least the leading companies, you've learned quite a lot and you've applied a lot of that. And like, I think our team also learned a lot from you, but like, I think just on that, what is the key learnings and guidelines that you can, give others that also want to embark on these type projects, these digital transformation projects, but also being remote? So maybe just any wisdom or insight or learnings that you can share with us.
Okay. Yeah, I think if anybody asked me 12 months ago or maybe a little bit longer, would I do a MES project virtually, I would have said there's no way, I'm not interested. But as you said, things changed and we needed to start adding value to the business. So I think that's the important thing, is that you have to first just get your mind around this thing and then just go for it. That's the first thing. The second thing was maybe you guys experienced less of that, but I still wanted the people to enjoy what they're doing, having fun. So we had a little bit of fanfare with posters and banners and gifts and naming the project. So we had fun in the process because of we couldn't sit together with you guys in a room and get to know each other. So I needed to create some in a positive energy. So that's the second thing. But let's go back to the business side of things. So for me, it was always about what did we want to achieve. So the outcome was very important for me. Secondly, the teamwork, as Henny said, we had two teams not knowing each other and not seeing each other. You know, most probably we could recognize each other's on our voices better than on, you know, our facial recognition, if I can put it that way. And then the most important thing, which our IT guys are not good with, is communication. So I think that's the three things that we did well. We stuck to what we needed to do. Both teams were committed, and then we talked to each other. I think that's just in terms of the other things that you've mentioned. I think with virtual projects, it's key that you spend more time on your blueprint. So, you know, because you don't have this daily interaction where you can quickly, you know, in the old days, go and sit with your counterpart, the engineer or whatever, and chat about stuff. You obviously try and do that, but the blueprint, spending enough time on your blueprint was key. I think we had a good detailed project plan. So as they say, you know, plan the work and work the plan. So we had regular updates, feedbacks, and then if we started to deviate from that plan, we had catch-up activities and actions that brought us back to where we needed to be from the project plan point of view. I think you mentioned the word governance. So we agreed a set of governance structures, communication, reports, meetings, whether it was project operational meetings, steercos, whatever, in escalations, and we made sure that those were functioning very effectively and efficiently. So that for me was really key. And then again, back to the scenario where we were in, it was also important to me to build a relationship. I mean, I was also new at the company, so I spent time with the operational people, getting to know them, making sure that they part of the process, you know, they're getting what they want, but also, you know, I spoke to you guys on a frequent basis outside of the governance structures, just to make sure that normal communication and relationship is built. So for me, those were some of the key aspects, you know, that was important for me during the project.
No, thanks. And yeah, I can truly say that I believe you went beyond the norm. Like, firstly, I think because of the restrictions of travel, you know, you were some periods longer than 12 months away from your lovely family in South Africa, you know, and then, you know, but other pieces also, like multicultural, you know, communities, you know, coming, some engineers and consultants coming from India, from other parts of the world, and sort of you know, it was just quite amazing to see that in the midst of this, that you know, orchestrated and help us orchestrate a very, very successful project. So, you know, thanks a lot for that, Johan. Any, like, you know, just any recommendations for the possible way forward and how we can continue bringing value to Kuwait and also to other clients that is remote, like Kuwait? You've obviously learned a lot in this last year as well. Yeah. Any final comments?
Yeah, look, we've learned a lot. I think there was a lot of challenges in the sense of how do you execute. But like Johan said, I think there was definitely a lot of governance and a lot of procedures in place that enabled us to be able to, with all the restrictions, with the challenges, still trying to and still execute the project within a project plan and using the governance. I think what's very important here is that part of this digital journey that we are together with is to put the solutions in place. We started now with the line plant, and certainly if you look at the line plant, there's for a few months now that we have, let's say, data coming in and a lot of quality data and plant data. So looking at, you know, how do you effectively and how do you optimize using this data and plants? How do you maintain this plant? That's where data analytics and machine learning in the past can also play a role. But I think if you look where Kuwait and where we are and a lot of the customers is, you need to get that data real time in, make sure the data is correct and is workable and clean, so that it can add value into the ERP systems and all the integration. So I think that was very important for me, and making sure that, you know, the control systems, if you look at control systems and the MES, and even all the ERP master data. Are we using the same language? Are we calling stuff the same buzzwords? You know, we talk very often about lingo, but you know, if we refer to some production data, or we look at the quality method on how do we analyze this kind of product, you know, do we use the same terms? And that's one thing that I've also seen. If you look at from the quality to ERP to the control, there's some variations on what you are calling certain things, but eventually you're still addressing the same thing. That becomes very important on making sure that you put a solution down that's fully integrated and being able to add value. So I think if you look, I know there's a lot of there's also, you know, a future vision of expanding MES into some other plants in Kuwait as well. So yeah, I think there's will obviously play a role on what is the state of the control systems, people availability, what is the requirements, and what is the strategy and priority of all the value add functions that needs to be implemented as part of this digital journey for customers and for Kuwait. But yeah, I think we obviously very excited and looking forward for the rest of the journey.
Thanks, Henny. Yeah, and thanks, Johan. Like, yeah, you know, so we'll take this as a successful AspenTech MES phase 1 at the specific site. And like I said, Johan has got various other phases that he's planning, and he's and also other different digital transformation activities. And like, you know, but you know, phase 1 interface to the SAP environment and executed well at the first level. And so, and then from here we basically build. Still getting other plant areas ready and so forth. So, but I think that's enough. So Johan, Henny, thank you for joining me in this coffee chat, and hopefully we can do it again once we have done some more interesting things. And Johan, as soon as you're back, I know you've been there again for probably another, you know, 8 months, you know, nearly 9. So if we see you back in December. Hopefully we can have a quick beer or somewhere, or a glass of wine somewhere together, because yeah, you know, it is this very, very long spreads that you do, and I know it must be quite a sacrifice also for you to be away from your family so long. Thanks for the time, really appreciate.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. So well.
Yeah.